Welcome to ESVN OT, the Emma Sports Vigilant Network show. My name is Emma Vigilant, and you know what to do, folks. Subscribe, youtube.com/ESVN show. Put on push notifications, rate us 5 stars, and say hello to Bradley Alsop.
It's Tim Pool.
Oh, yeah, Tim. You look like you're married all of a sudden.
Yeah, and my child's room is almost filled. Almost.
Fingers
crossed.
So, I mean, look, I didn't think of Tim Pool when I saw you in the beanie. I don't know why you'd want to create that association with yourself.
It was a little bit of a self-report.
Are you cold?
Weirdly enough, I'm so rarely cold, and I was cold in the studio earlier.
I turn on the heat, which Sam never does.
But then now, then I had my hat here, and I was like, I could just put my hat on also.
Well, it is a very fashion-forward Carhartt over there.
Yeah, that's right. This is a pretty common one, though. I feel like I get a little self-conscious when I'm on the train. I'm like, oh, like 4 or 5 other people have this exact same hat.
Right. People can see in that closet. We didn't close it. That's the toilet paper closet. But that shirt that's hanging there is one of the Koch brothers.
Yes, the Dan Flash's shirt,
yes,
the white Coke shirt.
I think Michael had one of the white Coke shirts with all the incredible patterns on it. So just a little bit of office lore for people that are watching. We have one of the best sports weekends of the year coming up, which is the divisional round, because this is the 8 cream of the crop teams in the NFL facing off against one another. No buys. Everyone is playing single elimination here on out. We also have the national championship game, and I thought the college football playoffs were pretty successful this year. I'm not sure what your opinion was of them, Bradley, but
yeah, the Penn State game was exciting. I mean, kind of a slog, but like very close, obviously, until the last minute for Notre Dame. I do think we're sort of saying this a little bit, I think, when you were previewing on the Majority Report today, but I think this might be, which is like crazy to say because I always feel like I'm accustomed to them falling short in like excruciating ways, but I think this might be Ohio State's year potentially.
I think it might be.
Just because mostly on the strength of, I mean, I do think the defense has been playing really well. Obviously, Jack Sawyer got the crucial, strip sack touchdown against Quinn Ewers in Texas last week. A former teammate, because Ewers actually transferred from Ohio State to Texas. Sawyer's a great player. I will probably go high in the draft, either if he declares this year or next year. But I just think the offense is so explosive with Jeremiah Smith, their freshman wide receiver, who is like, I think one of the best wide receiver prospects in the last like 5-6 years, and he's literally like he's 18, 19 years old. Like he can't even declare yet, but he's like truly. Him, Ryan Williams of Alabama, like 2 of the best young wide receivers. But so I think he will be really difficult to keep out of the action for Notre Dame's defense, even though Notre Dame's defense has played really well.
Yeah. Also, on the defensive side, it just feels like the Ohio State defense has more NFL guys on it, has real strong defenders specifically on the line. That
JT Tuimoloau, I don't know how exactly you say his name, but he's another really great player on as you're saying, on that line.
Right.
So I think I really do. I'm more confident in Ohio State, but I am hoping for a close game, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the Irish are heavy underdogs at this point. I don't have an updated line, but last I checked, it was like 9 points or something like that. So, I mean, last time Notre Dame was in the national championship game, they got completely blown out in 2012. We were talking about this by Alabama. I remember that game and being excited for it, and then it being a complete blowout. So, especially also if you're in the Northeast, there are a lot of Irish Catholic people that root for Notre Dame. So, there was a lot of interest in that game. But I think Ohio State is probably, and what a turnaround for them, where they had 2 losses on the year, one to Michigan and one to Oregon. They went on and defeated Oregon in the playoffs, which I think everybody saw as the biggest upset potential. And now they're on to potentially taking home the championship.
Yeah, so FanDuel currently has it as 8.5 for the spread.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. There are 2 8.5-point spreads in the NFL this weekend. Maybe we just get into that now. But I guess quick prediction for the championship game. I mean, I'm going to go probably 30 Ohio State to 17 Notre Dame. I think that the Buckeyes will cover easily, although we've said that before with them. They've blown a lot of things. What's your prediction?
I'm going to say 34-23 Ohio State, because I think there might be I think there might be a big game in the offing for Jeremiah Smith, my guy.
All right. Well, that'll be fun. With that said, we don't need to do the lock segment just yet.
Oh, okay.
Hold off on it, because I'm just thinking, I want to quickly break down these games, and then we'll get into our picks. 4 phenomenal games this weekend. We start off with Chiefs versus the Texans. This is an 8.5-point spread. The Chiefs are hosting the Texans, obviously, in Arrowhead. The Chiefs are 10-2 in the postseason at Arrowhead, with Mahomes quarterbacking the team. So it seems likely that the Chiefs will win this game. It's just a question of if that 8.5 points are too much. And hey, maybe the Texans can pull off the upset, because there are matchup issues for the Chiefs here. The Chiefs' starting tackles have not been playing that well. And you have a pass rushing duo on the Texans in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter that I think are going to just try to get to Mahomes as quickly as possible. Now, he's one of the, if not the best players in the league at evading sacks, because he's just so incredible in terms of his instinctiveness in the pocket. But I just think that this defense really is a problem a bit for Kansas City, also because they have these 2 corners in Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, who are going to
really well,
be able to play man-to-man if they need to. And Stingley has shown to be one of the most versatile corners in the league, as we've been saying, on a week-to-week basis. And the Texans are rounding into a top 10 defense. They finish in the top 10 in most of those categories in the regular season, but it was can they prove it against a team that they're feasting on the weak in the AFC South?
Right.
But they outgained the Chargers 429 to 261 in the wild card round. And Nico Collins looks healthier. Mixon had an 100-yard game against the Chargers. The Texans have positive momentum for arguably the first time this season. The Chiefs still beat them in Week 16. It was a close game, though, yeah. Right? They won 27-19, and that was when Nico Collins still wasn't that healthy. So I think that the Texans cover the spread, but I think the Chiefs win by a field goal. That's my prediction.
I'm also going with I think this is, if I were, I would like to be proven wrong, but I said this I think last week on the show. I think this is going to be another absolute classic, excruciating Chiefs victory.
Yeah,
I think they're going to basically artificially keep it close for 4 quarters.
That's how they operate.
And then they're going to kick a field goal in the last second and win the game.
41.5 is the over-under, and I could easily see that going under.
100%. I completely agree.
I think it's going to. My score prediction is 20-17 Chiefs.
Yeah,
that's
smart. I would honestly say the same thing.
Yeah. So that's my preview for that game, and also the Chiefs have been off for a while. It's been almost 3 weeks.
That's right. I mean, it's interesting. They had that really compressed schedule around Christmas, and then have basically not had to play for a really extended period of time. So obviously, a good rest.
I could see the Texans leading at halftime or something crazy like that, right?
But obviously a good amount of rest, but potentially, hopefully, not a good amount of rust for the Chiefs. But I agree with you in the sense that I think the tackle matchups between the edge rushers, I think, will dictate a lot of the offensive efficacy for Mahomes, just if he's really feeling a lot of pressure, having to throw the ball away, having to escape the pocket. And as you were saying, if Lassiter and Stingley can kind of do a good job of neutralizing two receivers on the Chiefs side, it makes it much harder for Mahomes, because it's not as if outside of Travis Kelce, he has super reliable targets, I would say, just in terms of real explosiveness, real kind of game-changing ability. The game-changing ability is going to have to come from Mahomes, in my view. So
yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I still it's hard for me to think of them not winning, but I could see the Texans keeping it close for those reasons.
I could see Mahomes rushing for more yards, because he's going to be running for his life with the pass rush, and the receivers are going to have issues, I think, with those corners. So I could see
creating separation,
Pacheco and Mahomes having good games on the ground.
Right.
That would be my prediction for that game. Now, the other 8.5-point spread on Saturday are the Commanders going into Detroit. David Montgomery's playing this week, and this is the concern, is
exciting.
that in terms of the Commanders covering that spread, do the Lions just chew the clock the entire time?
And they can. I mean, with the run options they have, I mean, I think if they want to, with the line being pretty healthy and Montgomery and Gibbs back, I mean, when they're on offense, they could basically just say, "Hey, why don't we just run 5 yards a pop for minutes at a time?"
The Commanders' defense was 28th in the NFL in run yards allowed.
Right.
So that's not great, although they did have to play the Eagles twice. So I think they've improved slightly at the end of the year. But like the best running team in the NFL, excluding the quarterback, but running with their running backs, is the Detroit Lions. Like they have supplanted the 49ers in that regard, who were always incredible at getting their running backs the football on the ground. So I think that the Commanders keep it close. I'm going to say that they lose by a touchdown here. I just think Jayden Daniels, the Commanders kept every game close this year in the regular season, and I just think his elite ability is going to keep them in this game. But I can't see the Lions coming into this game sleepy. Like, the Chiefs may have that because they've been here before and they kind of have some of those tendencies. But the Lions, when they want to blow somebody out, they have shown the ability to do so in a way that the Chiefs haven't. So I feel less confident about this 8.5-point spread versus the Texans, but neither of them, spoiler alert for my picks, are something that I feel confident in that regard. So I'm going to go with... I'm going to say 28-21. Lions beat the Commanders in Detroit. What are you going with, Bradley?
I kind of think this game will be a high-scoring affair because I just think both offenses are going to be kind of...
The line says as much. It's one of the highest over-unders of the entire year at 55.5.
So I think I'll probably do something like 38-31.
Okay.
Lions.
All right. The Eagles play the Rams in Philadelphia to send themselves to the NFC Championship, and we've been hoping for that kind. Oh, do I have an issue with my camera?
You're lagging a little bit. Do you want to should we take a quick break and just reset your camera?
All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll take a quick break.
All right, 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Back. Hopefully that fixed. We just refreshed a little bit. So I am gonna in terms of the Eagles, let's turn to that game. So I think the Eagles are going to win this game easily. That is my prediction, and I know that I was wrong about the Vikings in that game, but I just think that Saquon Barkley had 255 yards on the ground when they played the Rams last time. That was the 9th most in NFL history. It was his best game of the year. And I don't necessarily think that the Rams could stop it because I think it's a bad matchup for them. The Rams have a really fast defensive front, but they don't have a lot of size. This is part of the issue with them. They are based on speed and not power. And the Eagles are an elite power team with two of the best tackles in football, the best offensive line in football, arguably 100% at least top 3. So I just can't see how the Rams are going to be able to win this game. And when I have that kind of thought and I see a spread that's 6 points, I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one. So I think Saquon pops off. I think Jalen Hurts is finally able to practice because he went into that other game really rusty. He was having he was in the concussion protocol, so he didn't have a full week of practice. So I am going with the Eagles. I'm going to say that they win this game 21-10. I think that there's going to be bad weather, and I could totally see I am freezing still. I'm sorry about that, Bradley. All right, this is my bad. Why don't you go to a one shot for you if you can possibly do that? You can't do that? All right. I got to fix this. But I'm going with the Eagles.
I'm going to
yeah, you go.
I'll say Eagles like 30 to 13.
30 to 13?
Yeah.
You think the same? You think similarly?
Yeah, I just don't think the Rams have the juice. There you are.
I am here, but still a little bit.
Move around a little bit.
Okay. All right, we got this is annoying. All right. I'm not sure what to do. What should I do? Okay. All right. But sorry guys, podcast audience takes precedence in this situation. So I'm also, and then we have the Bills versus Ravens. Maybe let's just go into our locks because that will be this part of our conversation. ESVN
Stone Cold Lock of the Century all the week.
There we are. All right, guys. So last week, Bradley is making a resurgence now that we get to include prop bets. Perhaps that's, or over-unders, I should say, on passing, rushing, over-unders on points. Now that we have fewer games, we've expanded it. And Bradley went 3-0 last week. Lamar Jackson, over 49.5 rushing yards. Josh Allen, over 1.5 passing touchdowns last week. And the Commanders covered that spread at 3 points. The Pittsburgh Steelers did not cover the 9.5-point spread. That's part of what scared me off from the Texans and the Commanders. The Ladd McConkey had a great game, so I hit that over on receptions at 5.5. And then the Vikings got completely demolished by the Rams, so that did not cover. And I should have taken into account that Sam Darnold just completely collapsed at the end of the year under the weight of that pressure of trying to get that contract. So I ended up going 1-2. Bradley went 3-0. I'm 29-24-4, and Bradley is 27-27-3. Just perfect 500. So you would not have lost any money if you bet the same amount every time. Although I guess the odds would have to reflect that, but in terms of the money being bet. But either way, again, this is all hypothetical. We're just having fun with it. Bradley is closing in on my total. I'm gonna start here. I am going with Jayden Daniels total yards. That includes rushing and passing over 29.5.5. I have no reason to bet against Jayden Daniels. I was bandying about over 1.5 passing touchdowns or this, so who knows what's gonna hit. But I just feel like he's gonna try everything he can to win this game. He's going to try to use his legs. They're going to have to try to keep up with the Detroit Lions, so that's going to result in a lot of passing and explosive plays. So even though I don't think that the Commanders will win this game, I still think Jayden Daniels is going to keep it close. So I'm going with the over total 298.5 yards for him, both passing and rushing.
Question from the YouTube chat, Emma. Srivatsan Krishnan said, Is my +3 a push because they won by 3?
No, that's -3.
Oh, got it. So they were wrong. Sorry, Srivatsan, for putting you on blast. But so I'm good. My 3-0 remains. Daniels rushing yards for me. I'm just doing rushing yards as opposed to total yards over 57.5. Similar reasoning. I just think they're going to try and heat up Daniels and try to get him uncomfortable, get his get him out of position in the pocket. Sort of make it so that he needs to run, kind of clog up, shroud some of his passing lanes. So I just think on the ground he's going to take off when he needs to and rely on it more. I think he's showed a lot of more than like pocket presence as opposed to break and contain than I was expecting when he was coming out. That he would use that more as a safety blanket than he would necessarily need to. But I think this is the time to do it. The Lions are a little bit depleted in terms of their personnel, so I think the heating up is going to be just much more of an option for them, because when you don't have the personnel necessarily maybe to match the explosiveness, you want to heat up the quarterback just to make him uncomfortable and get him out of position. But Daniels is a really, really great runner and an incredible athlete, so I think he's going to rely on that and get over 60 yards rushing.
All right. I hear that. I am going, as I mentioned earlier, with the Eagles -6, with the Rams coming into Philadelphia. I just think with bad weather, It's a bad matchup for the Rams. I think that they're going to finally run out of juice here. Philadelphia -6.
Yeah. What was your score prediction for that? Do you think?
I don't remember. I mean, it's somewhere. I'm getting pissed off about the camera, so I don't remember. But it's somewhere back in the recording. So it's like 21-10, I think, is what I said. Bradley, you're up next.
I am taking the over on points. As I said, I'm taking the over on points in Commanders. I was making sure that the prediction I had was actually over 55.5 to square with my point total. But yes, I had 69 points for 38-31. I'm taking over 55.5 just because I think Detroit's defense, obviously, like I said, a lot of attrition on there. I think there will be a lot of scoring on the Commander side, but I also definitely think even if it's a blowout, I think there will be a lot of scoring on the Lions side with Montgomery back. So
it's almost like this line is tempting people to take the under because it's so unbelievable. But they're two
really explosive offenses
and two bad defenses.
Yeah,
unless Aaron Glenn comes up with something, and he totally could, but. I think that hopefully it's a shootout. This is the kind of thing that we want to see from the Detroit Lions and the Commanders. Like, this isn't the Texans. We want to see a shootout in this team.
Game. And even what I thought was going to be a shootout last week with Commanders Bucks, I'm hoping is more of a shootout this time around because that was just 23-20. So I would like a higher scoring game, but I really do think there will be a lot of fireworks in this one.
Right. If somehow I'm wrong and the Rams are able to pull off the victory in Philadelphia and they go to Detroit with Matthew Stafford and the Rams heading into town, Bradley, to go to Detroit to face his old team in Detroit.
In a rematch of last year's playoffs, too.
I don't think this will happen. Again, I think the Rams are going to lose. But if it does, a rematch in the NFC Championship, and
crazy.
Stafford could potentially kill his former team's ambitions to go to their first Super Bowl in franchise history in Detroit.
That would be quite a biblical turn of events, I think.
Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be the cruelest thing possible for Lions fan, given how, That
would be an extraordinary range of outcomes in terms of A, the Eagles losing in the second round, and then B, the Rams getting to the conference championship, then beating the Lions and getting to the Super Bowl.
They had a heartbreaker last year, too. They were up by a lot against the 49ers, and then they lost it, in San Francisco. So, anyway, I am going to go. We have opposite
we're head to head on this one. I love it.
Let's talk about it. So I'm going with the Ravens -1.5 in Buffalo against the Buffalo Bills +1.5. And I really don't fully know how this game is going to go, but I just have a sneaking feeling that the Ravens are going to win it. And I think that they're the better team. I just think it comes down to it when I'm saying it right now. I just think they're the better team. And I know that Zay Flowers hasn't practiced this week. But who on this Buffalo defense is stopping Derrick Henry? And they're going to have weather up there, and I know Buffalo's used to it. But who on this Buffalo defense is stopping Derrick Henry? I mean, Matt Milano's back, but Matt Milano,
he's getting up.
He's declining. Yeah. Like, the idea that their best defensive player on that side of the their best player on that side of the ball is Matt Milano is just like, can the Bills have any elite players on their defense? It's just so much every year. I feel like the Bills could use the three best players on the Ravens defense are all better than the best player on the Bills defense. That's how I feel. Like, I would take Kyle Hamilton. I would take Roquan.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
on the line maybe, but
yeah, like perhaps just my point just is that I don't necessarily think that the Bills have the defensive capacity to keep Derrick Henry from going off, and it's going to be a game with weather, and I think that the passing is going to be a bit limited in this game.
Yeah, I think I'm basing this mostly off a little bit of the home field advantage, but also kind of thinking into existence maybe this is like a Josh Allen legacy game.
Totally. They're going to have to outscore the Ravens. They're not stopping this team on offense, even in this. Like, the weather is more conducive to the Ravens scoring more points. So it's going to have to be Josh Allen and his incredible ability.
That's kind of what I'm banking off of is him keeping pace and kind of Supermaning it.
But the problem is there's a Superman on the other side.
Yeah, I guess you could also almost argue there's two.
Yeah, two MVP here. And do you know that somehow it seems like Lamar is going to win the MVP? He has better stats. I just think this should have been Josh's year, so I'm a little salty about it for him, but I also get the case for Lamar.
And this is like obviously not completely fair and a little bit like speculative, but I'm also still reserving the possibility that Lamar, unfortunately, I love him so much, turns into a pumpkin in the playoffs again.
That does happen. I understand it. It's just hard for me to pick against them the way that this team
the Henry
is
part
running
is the biggest,
the ball.
Most formidable thing to me in terms of just them having both options, even if Lamar is not at his best.
So
because last year it was like when he wasn't at his best, it's like, okay, there isn't really another option.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the rushing attack. And now it's like, okay, well, if not, I guess we can hand it off to Derrick Henry 4 or 5 times this drive instead. But that's sort of my thing. I just thought it would be interesting / like a fun thing to bet on this game, even though I'm really not that confident in it.
Me neither.
And I also think that it kind of will come down, I sort of think, to some heroics on either end.
Yeah, I think so too. And I saw that line, I saw what the weather is, and I said, I just think this run game is going to be better. And that's what I went with, even though I don't feel that confident in much of this. It's just, it's.
But I see what you're saying, though, in terms of I think it's a little bit more even on the offensive side in the sense of just like 2 great quarterbacks, 2 good to great offensive lines. Okay, I would say to okay to good like skill position in terms of pass catchers and things like that. But then I think I see what you're saying, though, in the sense of the defense, I think, will be the actual, like if there's any ability that the Bills have to contain Derrick Henry, I think it'll be a surprise. But I think that would be like, okay, that's a pretty clear edge. But again, the problem that I have, even with the somewhat of the speaking to my reticence with my own pick, is just knowing that they're not handcuffed by only having one option this year as they were last year.
Right. And the other thing I was going to say, I just completely forgot. None of these lines feel confident in.
It's hard to gauge, I think, when you get down to this point.
Yeah.
It's just that when there are so few games, it's sort of like anything really can kind of.
8.5 felt like way too much for both the Texans and the Commanders, but blowouts happen, and
true. Yeah.
and you never know. I mean, last week I thought that there was 9.5 was too much for the Steelers, but look at what happened, right? So I think those bigger spreads give me a little bit of anxiety, but I just banked on. I think the Eagles are the better team by a lot, by 6 points. That feels real. And I think the Ravens are a slightly better team. And I think the conditions favor them. So that's what I'm going with. The one I feel most confident is Jayden Daniels going off. But even that, I go in the back of my mind. If they just.
What if the Eagles sort of just bottle them up? I mean, sorry, by Eagles.
The Lions
bottle them up.
Or the Lions just dominate time of possession and he doesn't get to get on the.
He doesn't have enough time to get over 300.
That's what happened with Bo Nix against the Bills last week. Bo Nix had a great start, but he couldn't get back on the field because they just kept dominating time of possession. So anyway, that's what I'm going with. I'm going Jayden Daniels over 29.5 total yards. The Eagles -6 against the Rams. The Baltimore Ravens -1.5 in Buffalo. Bradley's going with Jayden Daniels. Similar idea. Over 57.5. The over/under. He's going with the over in the Detroit-Washington game. 55.5, which is incredible. And also he's going on the opposite side of this Bills-Ravens game. Buffalo +1.5. And hey, you could still be right if the Ravens just win by 1. So that's that spread there, folks. Appreciate you all. I'm getting nervous because I've had a good year this year, but I went 1-2 last week, and I do not like seeing those 2 red check marks on the screen.
I'm coming for you.
I know. All right, I'm filing that into human resources.
There's no evidence of what I just said.
Yeah, good thing it wasn't recorded. All right, we will see you on Monday. Bye. Oh, wait. No, we won't because it's Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, right. But
and also Trump's inauguration.
Right. Okay, so Thursday, next week.
Yeah,
Thursday next week. We'll recap the games and give our conference championship picks.
All right. See you
Bye,
all
everyone.
next
Enjoy
week.
the games.
Bye.
Bye.